It's Father's Day. There's a little poem I'd like to start out today with that kind of touched me when I found it. It says this. To get his goodnight kiss, he stood beside my chair one night and raised an eager face to me, a face with love alight. As I gathered him in my arms, the sun God gave to me, I thanked the lad for being good and hoped he'd always be. His little arms crept around my neck, and then I heard him say 4 simple words that I shall forget, 4 words that made me pray. They turned a mirror on my soul, on secrets no one knew. They startled me, and I hear them yet, as he said, I'd like to be like you. Fatherhood has changed over the years. There's a story about a father being asked, who is in charge of his house? He said, well, my wife is the boss of the children, my children are the boss of the dog and the cat, and I can say anything I want to the geraniums. It's changed. Growing up with children, we learned advice very early on to watch cartoons with them, because you never know what's being taught to your kids through the media. And one of the things that shocked me on a regular basis was how dumb dads have become. We've come from father's knows best to father knows nothing at all, you know? And it's a dumbing down, it's a putting down of dads. It's like, how dare dad lead, you know? Well, this morning I want us to take a look at God's view of fatherhood, of God's view of what I'd like to call, the title of this message is The Blessing. There's a Jewish tradition. Bill, I'm going to butcher this, so anytime you want to chime in, correct me, cool, because Bill is our resident Jewish authority about the blessing. We've never taught on the blessing, but there is, in the Jewish home, with the Shabbat, typically in that evening, Dad will put a blessing onto the children. And God has a method that's been throughout history of blessing the children through the home. We don't do that. I've been in kids ministries where the people in kids ministries don't really particularly care for kids. I've been in churches where kids aren't appreciated. You know? I've been in campus ministries where the campus ministries don't particularly care for the church. You know, it's like everybody has this agenda against the authority that God has structured and set up. We have to go back to see what God did in Genesis. So we're going to start in Genesis, and we're going to do a little wandering today. So, in Genesis chapter 27 is the story of Isaac bestowing his blessing to Jacob. It was intended for the oldest son Esau, but through deception, it was given to Jacob instead. As you remember, Isaac and Rebekah had twin sons, Esau and Jacob, who were really not a whole lot alike. Esau was an outdoorsman. You know, the burly, hairy arms. He loved to hunt and fish. Jacob was much more of a homebody. Spent a lot of time with Mama. Well, in the 27th chapter of Genesis, we see their father Isaac had grown old and blind, and he decided to pass on his blessing to his eldest son. Now, this Jewish father's formal blessing was the father's honor and authority to his oldest son. And since the oldest son would then assume the leadership and responsibilities of the family or tribe, he also received a double share of the father's possessions. So bestowing this blessing was a very important step in manhood. In verses 2 through 4, Isaac tells Esau, now I am an old man, and I don't know the day of my death. Now go get your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the open country and hunt some wild game for me. Prepare it, that kind of tasty food that you know I like. Bring it to me so that I may eat, and that I might give you my blessing before I die. So Esau leaves, goes out on a bit of wandering, goes out on a little hunting trip. Mama recognizes this is the opportunity to seize the blessing for her favorite son. So she sets up the ducks. She lines up the situation. So what she does, she quickly prepares some tasty food, just like Isaac likes. Tells Jacob to put on Esau's best clothes to help fool the old blind Isaac. She puts on goat skin on Jacob's hands and arms to make them feel hairy. And she sends him with the food so that he can receive the blessing. In verse 19 it says, Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing. Now Isaac was suspicious of this situation because he was hearing Jacob's voice and it just didn't sound like Esau. So he asked, how did you so quickly get this all done? And Jacob replies, the Lord your God gave me good success. Then in verse 21, Isaac says to Jacob, come near me so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you're really my son Esau or not. So Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. Now the blessing is found in verses 27 through 29. So when he went to him and kissed him, and when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes and blessed him and said, the smell of my son is the smell of the field, and the Lord has blessed him. May God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's richness and the abundance of grain in your wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and for those who bless you be blessed. And after he received the blessing from his father, Jacob left, and shortly thereafter Esau came in with the game that he had killed and prepared, ready to receive his father's blessing. Now listen to what happened in verses 33 and 34. Isaac trembled violently. Who was it? Who was it that hunted the game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came in, and I blessed him. And indeed, he will be blessed. And when Esau heard his father's word, he burst out in a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, bless me too, my father. And he couldn't, because he already had blessed the other son. It's interesting that this trickery and deception goes on generationally. The next generation, what happens with Jacob's boys? Anybody? Joseph. What do? They trick Jacob to thinking that his favorite son has been slaughtered. So this story got passed down. You know, I can assure you that Jacob, sitting around the fire with his children, is telling the story about how he tricked his brother. The thing about this is God still honored all this. And hear this. Even though the nation of Israel was saved by Joseph, there's a lot of deception going on in this family. These kids became like their parents. The good, the bad, and the ugly.